Welcome to another episode of the Most Serious Podcast. And today I have a super fun guest with me who knows a lot about everyone. And this you can't say for a lot of people or for a lot of professions in the world. I think the stuff that you do, Manisha, is super cool. And
Thank you.
I am super excited to have this conversation. But
Same here. I'm so excited listening to you.
oh, that's a nice compliment. I always love to hear that. But thank you for sparing time and welcome to the Most Serious Podcast.
Pleasure.
How do you even end up here? Let's start with that. How do you end up in astrology? I know your background. I know I've done some research. I know there are linkages which led you to here. But on
Mm.
a personal level, I want to understand from Manisha's perspective. What was a younger Manisha's plan in life to know all of this astrology stuff about everyone?
Okay. So I think astrology, it's and how I should put it is that you don't choose astrology. Astrology chooses you.
Okay.
So I'm born in a family of astrologers. My father, he is a well-renowned astrologer. He's a three times link up of record holder. My grandfather, my great grandfather were into it and absolutely amazing. I think so I can't even rate myself as compared to what they've done in their life. But then, like I said, astrology chooses you. So if I talk to you about myself when I was like 18 or 19, I was as directionless as
As
anybody else.
me.
So it's just that you see your father, you see something at home where people are walking in, then they're leaving his room happy. That was something that I was always looking forward to. That life में कुछ तो ऐसा करना है कि whenever people are meeting me, अगर रोते हुए भी आ रहे हैं ना, they need to walk out with that happy and that content feeling. So
Yeah.
something through that only. So we had I would say a pattern in our family that every day, since my father also used to sit for long in his office, so he made sure कि हम शाम को walk पे निकले.
Okay.
So when we used to go for a walk, it was either me accompanying him or my brother accompanying him, and he would keep talking about astrology. So with me, majorly tarot, and he would tell me stories. And was okay, as a child, I really enjoyed listening to those stories. Okay, yes, because you start figuring out those visions and those things that this is how a story. So he's an excellent storyteller. So on my 16th birthday, he gave me a pack of tarot cards, and I was like, "What?" मतलब इतने सुंदर से उन्होंने पैक करके मुझे दिया और मुझे लगा कि कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग चीज इसमें से निकलेगी, उसमें से टैरो कार्ड्स निकलेंगे। और टैरो मैंने कभी देखा नहीं था उससे पहले कि तो मुझे लगा कि बिकॉज उससे पहले आपने सिर्फ ये प्लेइंग कार्ड्स ताश जो है वो देखी होती है, वैसा तो कुछ नजर आ भी नहीं रहा है इसके अंदर। सो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ गेम इज इट?
Yeah.
एंड एक्चुअली एट द एज ऑफ 16 यू आर नॉट टू मच इनटू गेम्स आल्सो। हमारा जो
Hmm.
टाइम था, सो आई वुड से कि कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग कोई एक्सेसरी मिलती या कुछ और मिलता जो हम वी कुड फ्लॉन्ट इन फ्रंट ऑफ आवर फ्रेंड्स, वैसा
Yeah.
कुछ तो निकला नहीं। Then I
Huh.
asked him, what is this? So he said, all the stories that I've been telling you, I've been sharing during our walks. See if you can pick out any card, focus on it, and see if you can relate to those stories. कुछ
Okay.
कुछ समझ आना शुरू हुआ, लेकिन वो 16th बर्थडे की एक्साइटमेंट फिर भी नहीं थी कि हुआ क्या, ये मुझे क्या मिला, आउट ऑफ
Hmm.
दैट। नाउ years later, I won't tell you my age, but years later I realized I think that's the best gift that he gave me, because tarot is my first love. And 2011 World Cup was the first thing जो मुझे जिसने limelight में मुझे दी, because all the media, the Hindustan Times, the print media, the electronic media, the web media was
Yeah.
actually covering all my predictions. So even when people had lost hope that India will be winning, I made a prediction and I got a call from a print media that are you still on it, because I was making live predictions on Facebook that time through
Okay.
tarot cards.
अच्छा.
So years back, but अब लगता है कि वो एक blessing थी. It had to come. So that is how I got onto it. And learning was never a problem as such because my father was there. थोड़ा आपको डर लगता है when it's your own parent, ही लगता है कहीं डांट ना पड़ जाए मुझे कि oh, what have I learned and what have I performed.
Yeah.
But then still I think my learning has been way more easier than what it could have been otherwise.
I think one of the biggest like questions I have post hearing it is, and I'm sure most people do this, do ask you about this. I am not sure how many people try to understand what you do and just come to you with their problems. But I just want to understand this craft first and want to really understand what does tarot mean, what do these tarot cards mean, and what is the like science or understanding behind it. first like really understand it and then maybe get into how it solves people's problem.
Okay. So I follow, so there are, tarot is basically a tool of divination, which can guide you, which can show you what's your current situation is and what should you expect out of it. The best part of that is key. I, as an astrologer or as a tarot card reader, may fall short of words. But
Hmm.
then at times when I show that image to people, people are able to understand and relate that with. So tarot, which I purposely, I right now, which I practice is called the Rider Waite deck, which is said to be the most authentic deck with 78 cards. So I follow that, and it's easier for people to connect also. It's a branch of Horary astrology. So when we talk of astrology, there's something called Prashna Kundli. The moment you ask me a question, and you do not share any birth details. You do not, because usually we do ask for your date, your time, your place of birth. So if you don't share anything, but then still you ask me a question, say for example, for someone, say your parents or your great grandparents you do not have their birth details with you.
Yeah.
So even then we can prepare astrologically a chart and give you an answer depending on what the current planetary position is. So
Okay.
similarly with tarot, you don't need anything. Even if a person is not sure of their birth details, if you have it, much, much better. The readings will be more clearer, it will be more accurate. But even if you don't have it, then you need to have patience. The tarot reader needs to connect with you, and we can have some awesome readings. Like I said, World Cup just happened. For me,
Hmm.
that was like the best learning curve which came across that yes, I can predict who's going next. who कौन out हो रहा है कितनी balls हमें expectation होनी चाहिए. So that is how it came.
You know how I wonder about this? Like my initial curiosity is that uh, India has always had this history of purohits and astrologers in king's court, and there's always a lot of focus and fixation on them making decisions based off the Raj Purohit, or I don't know if that's the right term, but the astrologers kind of validation on a decision. And for some reason now, maybe I don't know what reason that is, but that has kind of taken a backseat, and now people don't maybe look at it in the same light as it was used to, like being looked on in the Indian culture or the ancient history that we have. Do you think there's a one particular reason why this has happened, westernization or just whatever modern day lifestyle that has happened? Why do people now not consider it as important and only consider it important when something bad is going on in their life?
I'm glad you asked me that question. And then over the years, if we talk now, I think people have started confusing astrology with religion. Now, as
Oh,
a
okay.
person, I can be very religious and I am an astrologer as well. But these two are different things. Your religion talks more about your faith, your beliefs, and astrology also has a scientific background. What are we doing research on? What are we researching upon? The data that you talk of, we are also talking about. So we have so many astrology conferences happening where people do share whatever research they are doing on. Even for me, I collect. We have so much data in our office. My father has consulted like lakhs and lakhs of people, has given consultation to so many people. I would have a few lakhs as well. So we keep on adding those data to see that, we saw this combination somewhere as well. And we produce that data to us, the students who are learning things from us as well. What I am not very happy with of late, why, people say that we will go and consult an astrologer only when things are bad, like you said, because right now there's so much happening on Instagram and YouTube. If you look
Hmm.
at those remedies being offered, जो आपको रातों रात मालामाल बना सकते हैं, तो फिर आपको कुछ किसी चीज में, why do you need to wait for a dasha? Why do you need to
Yeah.
wait for a transit to happen? Because ये उपाय करने से तो आप जो है वो मालामाल हो ही जाओगे ना, धन वर्षा, अपार धन वर्षा जो है. So I basically don't like. I know, although this is called clickbait, you want people
Yeah.
to click on your video, अंदर रुपए निकले नहीं निकले, काम किसी के आए नहीं आए, but you would just make a video, you would just produce. So I think all those things has degraded the science. Otherwise, it's a beautiful thing to approach. If you know that your coming period is likely to produce some challenges on your career front. अच्छा, आप ये सोचो, देखो क्यों लोग हमसे मिलने आते होंगे. सिर्फ ये तो सुनने कोई नहीं आता होगा ना कि आपकी कुंडली में राहु इस वक्त परेशान कर रहा है. They would want to know. I think more the learned people who approach you also want to know कि अच्छा ठीक है, राहु की महादशा चल रही है, टाइम इज नॉट वेरी नाइस, तो मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? फॉर अ फ्यू
Yeah.
पीपल वी वुड से कि अच्छा डोंट लीव योर जॉब, जितने मर्जी इरिटेट हो जाओ, जितने मर्जी फ्रस्ट्रेट हो जाओ, बट स्टे टिल योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आस्क्स यू टू लीव. So I also tell people that if you want to get frustrated applying for jobs, please go ahead. But
Hmm.
otherwise, focus more on meditation right now because your planetary position, anyways, is playing with you. They want to irritate you. So why don't
Hmm.
you get on to meditation? As an astrologer, I meet a lot of people when the people are listening to this Instagram astrology and they would come walk up and say कि मैम मेरी कुंडली में तो राहु है, and I say कि मेरी में भी है, उसके अलावा भी बहुत से planets है, you know, कि वो you heard so many things like इंसान डरता किससे है? राहु केतु शनि मंगल, थोड़ा बहुत सूर्य को लेके भी डरा दिया किसी ने. So that डर actually has created a market for, I think, the people who are I don't want to comment, but then yes, कि वो market जो है ना वो डर से ज्यादा चल रही है rather than benefiting. I always encourage people कि whenever you have your birthday, at least take a birthday reading because it helps you to understand what gifts your year has brought for you and what are the challenges that we can work upon. Once I know कि ये साल मुझे गुस्सा दिलाएगा, so it doesn't change me as a person, but then it also changes my reaction towards the people around me. लोग मुझसे
Yeah.
पूछ सकते हैं because of me, you know, I am getting more angry young man बनता जा रहा हूँ मैं, so लोग मुझसे कट सकते हैं. So whether that friend circle को revive करना है, you can always tell your spouse कि if I behave like this outside, please call them and apologize so that our relationship is not compromised. So that is more about astrology.
I think that perspective is the correct way to even begin anyone's education on this subject. I think, and I love the way you've put it, that don't confuse them a with religion and astrology, and b that you have to understand that there's no fix. Maybe even if it provides you a fix, but it's more about just an FYI for you knowing what is about to come and you maybe
Right.
planning it better. And that is
Right.
such a useful thing, right? So maybe people who've understood and learned this whole craft, they have developed that understanding, like you and your father and your family, to practice that craft, study about it and learn about all of this stuff. And if you can understand what is about to come in your life, and also if for some reason maybe this also happens a lot, that for some reason if you're beating yourself up and you are not able to find why things are maybe going wrong or a certain way in life, then you start losing hope as well. And I think that puts you in a situation where you're very easy to maneuver, you're very easy to be targeted by things like you say, fear and
Right.
things that drive general human nature. And I feel whenever a person is in that state, in a survival mode, or in just reacting to things, then they're very prone to consumption for all of this, what we're talking about.
But to add, I can also say that if you've heard of that saying, which says, दुख में सिमरन सब करें, सुख में करे ना कोई. जो सुख में सिमरन करे तो दुख का है को होए. So if you
uh,
make that as a practice, you know, why do we go for blood test? Annual blood test क्यों recommended होते हैं कि एक साल में पता चल जाए कि कुछ major changes नहीं हुए.
yeah,
अब जब changes होने के बाद ही visit a doctor, so he will put you in a loop of a treatment, right?
yeah.
So if an annual reading definitely helps, it's not that ki you are in a problem only then you visit someone. Once you have an annual reading or maybe you've spoken to someone, how is my dasha going on? You know कि ये time मुझे थोड़ा सा low feelings देगा and this is how, you know, maybe joining a group of people where I can bring out the best. Maybe painting helps me. Maybe you know another art form helps me. If you, it's all about distracting yourself from the things which are actually pulling you down. Low feelings हैं तो अकेले मत बैठो ना. Go out, meet people, talk to friends. Still, you will pass on that time. वो दशा automatically निकल जाएगी if you know. Because ultimately भगवान ने कर्म भी तो हमारे हाथ में दिए हैं ना. It is something that we are doing. वो करना क्या है अगर हमें गाइडेंस मिल जाए लाइफ बिकम्स वे इजी.
I want to understand this again. You've touched a very interesting bit, in which you say, karma hamare haath mein. And I always, I, for some reason, I'm always wondering, lingering from one end to the other of the spectrum, that what is this whole thing with free will and destiny? How much of my life is in my control, and how much of my life is just destined to be the way it is going to be?
So let me put it, someone has very beautifully mentioned this. सब कुछ लिखा है किस्मत में, तो कुछ करने से क्या होगा।
हम्म।
कि ये भी तो लिखा हो सकता है कि कुछ करने से ही होगा। सो दैट इज समथिंग।
ओ।
सो लॉट ऑफ पीपल से कि यार जैसा लिखा है ना मेरी किस्मत में हो ही जाएगा। देर इज अ कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ फ्री विल। भगवान ने ये कहा कि जैसा तुम चाहो, कुछ पन्ने किस्मत में ये भी लिखे हो सकते हैं कि जैसा तुम चाहो। दैट इज वाई आई टेल पीपल, वाई डोंट यू विश गुड फॉर योर सेल्फ। देर आर पीपल हु आर विशिंग बैड फॉर यू ना। नो बडी इज हैप्पी। अगर प्रैक्टिकल बात करें, एक्सेप्ट योर फैमिली, योर इमीडिएट फैमिली दैट यू आर बोर्न इन, उसके अलावा तो कहीं ना कहीं जेलसी आएगी कि दिस पर्सन
हम्म।
हैज रियली रिजन वेल इन लाइफ, बहुत कम समय में बहुत अच्छी ग्रोथ जो है वो मिल गई। तो बाकी लोग हैं आपके लिए बुरा सोचने को, आपको भी अपने लिए बुरा जरूरी सोचना है। यू थिंक एटलीस्ट नाइस फॉर योर सेल्फ, बिकॉज ऊपर वाले ने लिखा होगा कि जैसा तुम चाहो, सो अपने लिए तो अच्छा चाहो ना। सो दिस
या।
होल कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ मैनिफेस्टेशन एक्चुअली डिपेंड्स ऑन दैट। बहुत सारी चीजें आप देख रहे हो इंस्टाग्राम पे, इट इज नॉट मेकिंग सेंस टू मी ऑल्सो, सो आई डोंट रिकमेंड, बट देन आई ऑलवेज से कि हमारे घर के बड़े, हम, मुझे तो कम से कम एक ही चीज सिखाई है हमेशा कि कुछ भी किसी और से मांगने से पहले ऊपर वाले से मांगो,
हम्म।
बिकॉज ही हैज एवरी राइट, एवरी पावर टू गिव यू व्हाट यू डिजायर। सो मुझे ये लगता है कि दिस फ्री विल गॉड हैज गिवन अस, और ये एस्ट्रोलॉजी भी कहती है कि ठीक है, डेस्टिनी इज फिक्स, डेस्टिनी है, बट डेस्टिनी में फ्री विल भी मेंशन है। आपको सी एस्ट्रोलॉजिकली, इफ आई वर टू गिव एन एग्जांपल, आपकी कुंडली में योग बना है कि इट विल गिव यू enough money,
हम्म।
it will, what is enough money to you? If you
हम्म।
were to put a bracket somewhere, if God tells you कि okay, I am here, stars tell you कि मैं बैठा हूं, तुम करो, तुम कितना मांग सकते हो, कितना मांगोगे इस पर? So that ask,
या।
but वो ask तब पूरी होगी when you are working in accordance to that as well. So that free will and that ask, that desire, everything is under the same umbrella. इफ यू आस्क कि नहीं, भगवान ने मुझसे बोल दिया कि मैं तुम्हें पैसे दूंगा और मैंने कुछ नहीं करना, तो फिर भगवान भी बोलेंगे ठीक है, मैंने तो देना ही है ना, रुक के दे दूंगा, इंस्टॉलमेंट्स में दे दूंगा। बट इफ यू वर्किंग फॉर इट, डेफिनेटली यू विल गेट द बेस्ट ऑल्सो।
This reminds me of a funny story, a very short story. And so there was this, I don't know where I heard it, but this very similar to what you just said. So there's this person जो मतलब एक नदी में से जा रहा होता है with in a boat, and the boatman is like driving the boat, and बीच में suddenly what happens is for some reason एक hole हो जाता है, and the water keeps flowing in the boat, and the boat is about to drown. So the guy who's running the boat, he's like कि यार चलो उतरते हैं and we can swim and reach the nearest shore. तो इज लाइक कि आपको स्विमिंग आती है, वो कहता है कि हाँ मतलब आती है, बट नहीं नहीं, आई स्टार्ट, ही स्टार्ट प्रेइंग, ही स्टार्ट्स कि नहीं नहीं, मैं मेरे को मेरे भगवान बचाएंगे, आई प्रे। तो बोटमैन थोड़ी देर वेट करता है, कहता है कि नहीं नहीं आ जाओ मेरे साथ, आई हेल्प यू। कह रहे नहीं नहीं तुम जाओ, मेरे को पूरा बिलीफ है अपने भगवान पे। वो कहता है कि चलो यार ठीक है, अब इसको डूबने डूबे, मैं चले जाता हूँ। तो बोटमैन स्विम करके चले जाता है, तो वो बंदा प्रे करता है पूरे दिल मन से। एक बंदा और दूर से उसे ढूंढता है, वो कहता है कि ये बंदा डूब रहा है, तो फिर ही कम्स एंड ही ट्राइज टू रेस्क्यू हिम। तो इज लाइक नहीं नहीं मेरे को मत बचाओ, आई एम प्रेइंग, आई माई गॉड विल सेव मी। तो वो भी कहता है यार ठीक है छोड़ो। फिर उसे, वो ऑलमोस्ट डूबने वाला होता है, तब उसे एक और बंदा दिखता है दूर से, वो आता है उसको बचाने के लिए कि यार अब आ जा, यू आर अबाउट टू डाई, मतलब यू हैव टू स्टार्ट स्विमिंग। कहता है नहीं नहीं मेरे को भगवान बचाएंगे। तो फिर वो डूब जाता है, वो ऊपर जाता है, फिर भगवान से कहता है कि भगवान मैंने इतनी प्रार्थना करी, आपने मेरे को बचाया नहीं। वो कह रहे भाई मैंने दो बंदे भेजे थे
तो बच्चे
तुझे।
भेजे थे, तुम खुद ही बचना नहीं चाहते थे। दैट इज ट्रू। बट देन आई ऑल्सो, थ्रू यू, आई ऑल्सो वांट टू टेल पीपल, आई हैव शेयर दैट ऑन माय पेज अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स, दैट the whole game of manifestation, when you ask something to the Almighty, I also say that your wish has to be crystal clear, कि कोई भी उसे पढ़े, कोई भी उसे सुने, उसको समझ आ जाए कि इसे चाहिए क्या। So what I share your story along with that is कि एक मदर जो है वो अपने बच्चे के लिए हमेशा भगवान से दुआ कर, भगवान से प्रे करती है कि भगवान मेरे बच्चे के आगे पीछे गाड़ियां ही गाड़ियां हो। भगवान ने सुन ली, बच्चा बड़ा हुआ और ट्रैफिक पुलिसमैन बन गया। तो उसने पूछा कि माँ, अगर मांगना था तो साथ में ये भी ऐड कर देती कि ये गाड़ियां मेरी हों, मेरे आगे पीछे मेरी गाड़ियां ही गाड़ियां हों। लेकिन आपने मांगा कि गाड़ियां ही गाड़ियां हो, तो ऊपर वाले ने मुझे नौकरी दी, बट ही मेड मी अ पुलिसमैन। So
या।
that is why I said when you are trying to manifest something, your manifestation has to be crystal clear. Don't assume कि सामने वाले को जो है वो समझ आ जाएगा। भगवान भी हमारे साथ बहुत बार मजे लेते हैं।
I think आप ना you are the correct person for me to ask this question also, which is related to the whole manifestation part. कि आप इतने लोगों से मिलो and you've encountered so many different human perspective and life के प्रति लोगों का जो just एक vision होता है. What according to you limits their ability to think big? Like मोस्टली लोग जब उन्हें अगर मैं कहूँ कि यार इन्फिनिटी है तुम्हारे सामने, यू जस्ट आस्क ओके इफ यू वर टू जस्ट फिल योर बैग्स विद व्हाटएवर यू वांट टू, क्या रीजंस हैं ऐसे कि लोग जस्ट आर नॉट एबल टू थिंक दैट बिग फॉर देमसेल्व्स कि मैं कुछ और अच्छा कर सकता हूँ या आई कैन डू सो मच मोर बेटर?
See, astrology mein to there are numerous combinations. Of course, when we're talking of planets, so every planet has its potential. Planet तो आपको unlimited potential देता है, but then yes, आपके जो situations around you, जो हमें free will या कर्म करने की जो power मिली है, that is also something which really helps you grow, or it may make you struggle as well. अब होता क्या है कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम भले मैनिफेस्टेशन की बात करें या फिर अदरवाइज भी, देर आर पीपल लाइक यू हर्ड ऑफ दैट सेइंग कि द पीपल दैट यू जिनके साथ आपका रोज का उठना बैठना है, दे शेप अप योर विजन. सो देर आर
या
वेरी फ्यू पीपल who will have people around them who will motivate them कि you can do it, करो. बाकी सब यही बोलेंगे दिमाग खराब हो गया है तुम्हारा, तुमने कैसे एजेंडाज बना लिए, ऐसा तो होता ही नहीं है, दिस इज नॉट एट ऑल बीइंग प्रैक्टिकल. So sooner or later, you forget your own potential. You forget that, my stars have that capability and I can do well. I also want to add, if I were to explain it astrologically only, so let's talk about Rahu Ketu because people are usually scared of them. These are shadowy planets. But I feel that, that's how I learned astrology about life is that Rahu and Ketu are like two goalposts. And बाकी सब planets इनके बीच में आगे पीछे घूम रहे हैं. How Rahu is talks more about your desires. आपके thoughts का current है. So the moment जिसके भी राहु जिसका बहुत अच्छा होगा कुंडली में प्लेस, that person can't think small. They think they have the larger than life image. कि मेरे पास सब होना चाहिए. You talk to them about limousine, they will talk to you about choppers. So वो चीज उस तरीके से लेके जाती है. Whereas we talk about Ketu is more about moksha. It's about detachment from the material world and attachment to the spiritual world. तो हम जब पैदा होते हैं, the moment we are born, we come with the Rahu kinds of feelings because हमें desires शुरू हो जाती है हमारी. But the moment we have to exit the world, वो detachment शुरू हो जाती है. कि वो केतु वाले हम perspective के साथ आना शुरू हो जाते हैं. Now, if you realize कि इन दोनों चीजों को हर इंसान के लिए balance कर पाना is very tough. But I also want to give you an example. The people who've made it very, very, very big in their life, you would see they have the desire as well, and they have the feelings of detachment as well. किसी का भी नाम ले लो, whether it's our PM, Sri Narendra Modi ji, you would see he has a different kind of spiritual aura altogether. You talk of Mark Zuckerberg, you talk of Steve Jobs, all these people actually, they had so much big in life. They even after having so many things in life, they have been inclined to spirituality always. So the moment you know that we have to maintain this balance, कि मेरा spiritual recharge जो है वो time to time होते रहना चाहिए. Trust me, your desires also. This is manifestation उन्हीं के लिए होती. So what are you manifesting? You will only manifest once you are spiritually strong. So Rahu automatically control हो जाता है. I hope that's not too heavy on
Yeah,
you to
no,
understand
no, that's
astrology.
not heavy at all. But I think this is this is the first time I'm able to understand Rahu and Ketu in such simple terms. And possibly this is my understanding of them that I can carry with myself and not just be boggled by the fact that someone throws something at me. And I love the fact that I'm getting this introduction by you. But this is
Right.
so interesting, right? You balance those both heavy goalposts in your, and you try to find a middle ground between them, because I feel that's the that's a true creative. And I, this one movie, there's this movie called Fight Club, and there's one dialogue in it which I always just feel so resonative with me, is that the things you own end up owning you.
Right. That's absolutely true.
And it just hits you so much that you end up being attached to your material desires or your material possessions so much that you forget that they took a piece of you. Now, how do you even differentiate? And for that differentiation of myself from the things that I own is very important, right? Because you start to lose your own identity into the things that you own. सो अगर मैं आज बोलूँ कि हु इज रिपुदमन भारद्वाज, तो डू आई थिंक ऑफ व्हाट ऑल आई ओन? डू आई ओन दिस लैपटॉप और दिस बाइक और दिस जॉब और समथिंग लाइक दैट? But do I really try to understand what is this person, or how does he think, or what are his ambitions in life? I think wo cheezein just get sidelined once you get too much into the desire part, or if you are too much into the detachment part, then you have no desire to maybe go and drive and achieve anything.
अब आपने मुझसे मेरा इंट्रोडक्शन पूछा नहीं, अगर पूछा होता, you introduced me well, I would have definitely, I've always started my introduction like, so I'm a blessed daughter, sister, wife, daughter-in-law, mother, and then professionally I do this, I do astrology, I'm a motivational speaker, I write books. So I always, I think the moment you put that, for me that is spirituality as well. The moment you
Hmm.
realize that I am blessed to have these relationships around me, I
Hmm.
think it makes you spiritually more strong, because ultimately these are the people who are my cheerleaders. So if
Hmm.
you realize that your family is your strength, and trust me, I've felt that you really grow a long way.
Hmm.
When you feel that there are people who are pulling me down, it's your family who's again pushing you towards your goal.
That's so true. That's so true. I think, and for some reason, with whatever, I just feel whenever there is more polarization, there's more isolation as well in life. And what I mean by that is, with the use of so much social media or just so much consumption of things that we have, so that only works when you have polarized opinions. जैसे आप हम पहले बात कर रहे थे about why some advice sells fast on the internet is because it polarizes things. It makes it very extreme, like एकदम से this will happen, and that polarization leads to isolation. You don't ever want to consult anyone. You are like कि हाँ मेरे को ये trick पता चल गया, I'll just keep it to myself and apply it and whatever. So I think once you start detaching from the people who really care about you and family, and some people who are looking out for you, I think that isolation then becomes a sign of danger as well for you. So you should always, for some reason, I think there is so much value in being grateful for the relationships that you already have, and especially family. So I don't think there's anything above that, or anything that should even make you question or realize the importance of more than family. I guess that is what you fall back on.
It's I also say अगर scientifically हमें same चीज बात को कहें, so it's not that कि moon गायब हो जाता है. Moon is always there. It is just that sun is shining too bright that we're not able to see moon. So what is moon astrologically? Moon is your heart. It's your feeling. आपका
Okay.
मन है. So मन is always there. It is just that जो बाहर की चकाचौंध है, the material desires have become way too stronger that you stop focusing on what you feel, how you feel, and who are the people who are making you feel nice. So वो चीज अगर हमें realize हो, we will realize the importance of sun and moon in our life too.
And what does sun stand for? So moon stands for my desires and like mera man.
Sun, देखो sun, अगर हम planets की बात करें ना, तो हम एक kingdom को, let's understand astrology as a
Yeah.
kingdom. So
Yeah.
sun is like the king.
Okay.
और मैं न्यूमरोलॉजी के लिए भी बहुत बार बोलती हूँ कि सन रूल्स नंबर वन. और सन के लिए ना वो बेचारा हमारे लिए इतना कुछ कर ले, बट वी आर द पीपल हु हैव एब्सोल्युटली नो ग्रैटिट्यूड फॉर सन. क्योंकि
Hmm.
अगर सन ना हो, हमारी लाइफ बिल्कुल बोरिंग हो, लेकिन हमें गुस्सा यही है कि इतनी क्यों धूप निकली हुई है, इतनी गर्मी कर दी है. सो वी डोंट रियलाइज कि अगर गर्मी होगी तो ही हमें अच्छे मौसम का भी रियलाइजेशन होगा कि ओह वाओ द वेदर सो नाइस. So sun is the most misunderstood planet that way. Ki, but then the best thing about sun is कि वो करते हैं. Just like a king will have no motive. All the king wants is कि my praja should be happy. But my audience, my people should be happy. Similarly, this is what sun does in astrology. Moon is said to be the queen. Mercury is said to be the prince. Jupiter is said to be the guru, the dev guru, the guide. Mars is said to be the senapati, the warrior. Easily, you will see the people who are ruled by Mars. Whether it's a sports person or the people from defense, they would always have a stronger Mars in their horoscope. Of course, the people who've made it big would also have a strong influence of Sun and maybe Saturn as well. But the people who are good orators, just like you, I'm sure you will have an excellent Mercury placed, because the people who can talk, who are curious, it's like childlike.
Yeah.
मकरी में वो बचपना है कि क्यों, कैसे, क्या, ये क्वेश्चंस चलते रहेंगे till I don't get an answer. So
Yeah.
Mercury की स्पीड बहुत फास्ट है, मूविंग फ्रॉम वन थिंग टू अनदर. you can't sit idle. अगर आप बच्चे को बोलोगे सो जाओ, मतलब it's like mother also feels relaxed कि हाय मेरा लाल सो गया अब. So that's like mercurial energy that I
My
say. When
mom can
people are
relate.
I, without knowing that, only by hearing, I can tell you, and I'll show you in your horoscope also someday that you see. I told you that your Mercury has to be strong because the people who talk, and the moment the child sleeps, the mother's like, now I have my time, my time. This is going to be me time now. So that's like, these are the people who can really talk well. बिजनेस में पैसे में दिमाग जो है वो बहुत ज्यादा चलता है बिकॉज यू हैव दैट केपेबिलिटी. बच्चा रिस्क से डरता नहीं है. आप उसको बोलो खेलना है, वो road if you, I don't know if you've done that, we've done that in our childhood ki we've played that gully cricket,
Yeah,
so
yeah, of course.
we were never scared ki gaadi aayegi, koi scooter aayega. So that is the material nature. That's best how I can explain astrology in a layman's language कि आप डरते नहीं हो, जो आएगा देख लेंगे. Let's go live the moment.
I think my even more extensive example, if you're talking about me, is that my mom used to be so angry at me. So I used to fall sick as a when I was in school, 9, 10th, if I got a fever or something, and I love playing football. Okay. So my mom used to tell me कि अब तेरे को दवाई दे दी and ये सब, you just rest and by the time I come from school ये वो you have to do nothing, rest, कल तेरा exam है वो, and शाम को I just try to sneak away, play football, and then I come back, I'm more sick. So mom is like, यार तेरे को बोला है भाई घर में रुक जा अभी, you don't have to play, you have exams. But that is that just childlike motivation to not see it from a, from that elder perspective of कि यार this might have another consequence, but you just want to do something which is,
But that's
feels
what
like
I
play.
said कि risk taking appetite बहुत strong होती है जिनका मकरी अच्छा हो, कि वो बोलते
Hmm.
हैं कर लो, live the moment, बाकी देखा जाएगा.
One question I feel, which I sometimes think that I've asked this question to almost, most of the guests that have come on the podcast, and they for some reason have a similar answer to this. I don't know. I want you to validate it. That I always ask them that do you think you've made it in life, and do you think that you still feel like an imposter, or you feel that you don't belong where you do? And there are people who are like way successful than general population, and sometimes they answer yes, and they feel like that feeling never goes away. Like, you always feel that I have not done enough in life even after achieving so much. I just want to understand, where does that feeling come from, that even after they've achieved such great credentials, success, money wise, business wise, but there's still some lack of something in life. What is that they're missing?
Contentment. Tripti is what I can put that in the inverted commas and bolds and maybe make it more colorful. That I think when you're spiritually elevated, you're spiritually very strong. I've written that in my book also, which is called Spirituality Within You. Everything is here and most of the things are here. The moment you have a connection between the two, what is there in your mind and what is there in your heart, you're very clear about that. आपको तृप्ति automatically आ जाती है. So, if you were to ask the same question to me, if I'm happy about what I've made in life and I feel that I've made big in life, I think I'm yet to do a lot more. Because ये तृप्ति अगर आ गई, I will not be able to learn anything more beyond this then. For me, that satisfaction is not about getting X amount in my account every month, but and it is not about being a public figure as well that people are recognizing me. I like when they come forward, they hug me and they say, "आपने ना ये चीज बताई थी and it was so true. आपने ये चीज बताई थी, I just loved it." This means that whatever I'm saying, someone in the world is listening to me and it has changed their life. So for me, that is more satisfying rather than having X amount every month. And I don't go by numbers. तो वो नंबर जो है वो मुझे वहां नहीं अच्छे लगते. आई लाइक इवन आई एम ट्रैवलिंग समवेयर समवन रिकॉग्नाइजेस मी नॉट फॉर दैट आई एम बीइंग स्क्रोल्ड सो मच ऑन इंस्टाग्राम बट द मोमेंट दे कम अप एंड से कि आपने ये बात इस फेस्टिवल पे कही थी और मुझे बहुत टच की थी. दिस मीन्स समथिंग जो मैं बोल रही हूँ इट इज मेकिंग सेंस टू पीपल.
Yeah, I'm sure that impact, that doesn't come in many professions in life. I feel the impact that you can have on people's life because of, the weight in your word and the weight in your, the things that you say because of, your establishments or your learnings. But I just feel maybe that is also, that has some play in, that contentment feeling, because आपके लिए वो satisfaction is way more than any X amount of money. Like, one person
Right.
telling you you've made a huge impact in my life. And I feel, मतलब personally, मेरे को लगता है, still very young and trying to figure out what I uh, think of life and how do I even understand it. But sometimes I feel कि अगर मेरे को, at the end of my life, if I were to just ask for one thing which is truly of value, I would say कि if someone just says कि यार, you helped me live a better life, I think that is the biggest, kind of achievement or gratification that you can ever have. If you can make an impact in someone else's life, because I love this saying by my dad, and he always, I try to get close to it as much as I can, but his saying is कि अपने लिए everyone lives. There's no big deal in just living for yourself.
Right.
What did you do
Right.
for the others? What did you do for your family? What did you do for people around you? There's no
Right.
pride in just saying कि I made it big in life. Okay, so then what? Like, it doesn't stop there.
But then, like you said, मुझे ये concept भी नहीं समझ आता. For me, that's boasting when you say that I'm a self-made man. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. A lot of people are actually confused about their own identity, और मुझे लगता है कि वहाँ कहीं ना वो अपने planets को misuse कर रहे हैं. The moment they say that my journey has been self-made, no, there was a provider at every step. आपके लिए पढ़ाई करना पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाता if your teachers were not there. आपके लिए एग्जाम फॉर्म्स फिल करना पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाता if your institutions were not there. So आप सेल्फ मेड वो एक भ्रम है. The people are living their own bubble that I made it. You made it maybe because there were strangers who helped you at that point in time. So there is some or the other person always there. भगवान ने कभी हमें, अगर ऐसा होता तो फिर हमारी जर्नी अलग अलग ही चल रही होती, हम अलग डेजर्ट में घूम रहे होते. Then
Yeah.
you would have made it self-made. Otherwise जो है, there is some or the other force always backing us, and the moment we realize, I think आपका connection और ज्यादा strong हो जाता है spiritually with your own self.
एंड आपको सबसे बड़े इसमें फैक्टर्स क्या लगते हैं जो लोगों को स्टॉप करते हैं रियलाइज करने से कि मतलब ईगो इतनी क्यों फ्यूल्ड है आज की डेट में लोगों को? ऐसा आज की डेट में भी, आई डोंट नो इफ इट वाज ट्रू इन द पास्ट एज वेल. आई जस्ट थिंक दैट relationships were more meaningful and people valued trust, honesty, and things like those more in past times. But for some reason, do you think there's more ego, there's more just this feeling of ki I've done all of this by myself and I'm self-made or things like that? Why do you think, what is that hindrance between most people getting that spiritual alignment in their lives so that they can be more content and realize that it's not all their work?
अब ये देखो कि our families, बचपन से हमें हम we've actually been brought up in that culture only कि सुबह उठो, you've taken a shower, the first thing we would do is pray.
Yeah.
Then we were sent to schools. Schools में भी खाना खाने से पहले, when we enter, morning prayer तो होती थी. उसके बाद lunch में भी we were asked to fold our hands, close our
Before
eyes
eating,
and
yeah.
pray. So वो चीज before lunch also, then we would thank for the meal. So हर चीज में thank you जो है वो सिखाया जाता था. आज के टाइम में आई थिंक वो चीज तो खत्म ही होती जा रही है. एंड एज पेरेंट्स, इफ we've got values because our parents built that, lived on those values. आज अगर वो वैल्यूज को मैं आगे अपनी नेक्स्ट जनरेशन को नहीं दे पा रही हूँ, सो दैट्स आई एम एट फॉल्ट. आई कांट ब्लेम द नेक्स्ट जनरेशन फॉर दैट. सो
Yeah.
इसीलिए, और दूसरी चीज, व्हेन यू टॉकिंग अबाउट रिलेशनशिप, मुझे तो बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है कि जो टॉक्सिक रिलेशन, हर चीज टॉक्सिक नजर आनी शुरू हो गई अचानक से. दिस वर्ड हैज बिकम टॉक्सिक. Patience, there are people I see astrologically also, they've lived their life through hell. And we can see that. But what about when you've made your patience way too brittle about things and you start feeling everybody around you is toxic? This means that something you are not rightly living with. एक थॉट
Yeah.
है जो आपको खराब कर रहा है. तो वो चीज मुझे लगता है कि जेनजी के साथ ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम हो गई है, दैट दे स्टार्टेड फीलिंग एवरीथिंग इज टॉक्सिक. तो मुझे वो चीज हंसी भी लगती है कि इट्स नॉट दैट दिस मीन्स, एंड एज अ पेरेंट वी नीड टू प्रोबेबली बिल्ड दोज थिंग्स दैट यस दैट्स ओके. इट्स देयर आर सर्टेन थिंग्स इन लाइफ यू हैव टू बी वेरी वेरी ओके विद. एस्ट्रोलॉजिकली अगर हम बात करें, देर आर पीपल, देर आर न्यूमरस कॉम्बिनेशन तो मैं नहीं बता पाऊंगी, बट व्हेन यू लुक एट अ हॉरोस्कोप you would see that this person बहुत जल्दबाज है. He will lack patience. ये अपना नुकसान खुद ही करते हैं. There are people, when I tell, बहुत सारे लोग बोलते हैं इस चीज को कि काम जब तक नहीं हो जाए किसी को बताओ नहीं, बट एक्चुअली मून द फिफ्थ हाउस, वो लोग जो अपना काम अगर होने से पहले किसी को बता देंगे तो डेफिनेटली उस काम में डिले होते. इट्स नॉट ट्रू फॉर एवरी वन. बट मुझे ये लगता है कि अब यही थॉट अगर हम बात करें ना, तो आपके रिश्तों में कहीं ना कहीं डिफरेंस भी आता है बिकॉज ऑफ दिस, बिकॉज मे
हम्म
बी आई कंसिडर समवन माई बेस्टेस्ट फ्रेंड जो मुझसे अपनी लाइफ सुबह शाम डिस्कस करती है, एंड इफ आई माइंड माई प्रॉपर्टी एंड आई डोंट टेल हर कि देयर समथिंग ऑन माई माइंड, और अचानक से रजिस्ट्रेशन होने के बाद बोलूं मैंने प्रॉपर्टी ले ली, तो मुझे लगता है आपके रिश्ते में वैसे ही फर्क आना शुरू हो जाएगा, बिकॉज शी वॉज
हम्म
टेलिंग मी एवरीथिंग विच वॉज हैपनिंग इन हर लाइफ। शी हैड दैट फेथ दैट आई एम द सेम पर्सन टू। तो वो मून जिनके फिफ्थ हाउस में होगा वो तो डेफिनेटली परेशान रहते हैं इस चीज के लिए कि हमारी लाइफ में कुछ होने से पहले हमने बता दिया, वो काम ही नहीं हुआ, कि हम आंसर क्या
हम्म
करें, बट दैट्स नॉट ट्रू फॉर एवरीवन।
आई थिंक ये वाली चीज भी मतलब you've told, तो now I've understood कि इसके पीछे भी एक साइंस है कि मून हैज टू बी इन फिफ्थ हाउस एंड some implication for that for this to be true. अब ये blanket statement probably I've also heard this on some reels that don't tell people about your things that you're planning,
राइट,
and so now
राइट।
in my head it was always कि यार अच्छा this is true for everyone and for every time in your life.
नहीं होता, मुझे लगता है अगर इट इज ट्रू फॉर एवरीवन तो फिर सबका मून एक ही जगह फिक्स हो जाता, फिर मून को अलाउ भी नहीं किया जाता कि आप फेजेस में आओ या जाओ। बट आई जस्ट गिविंग यू वन कॉम्बिनेशन, ऑफ कोर्स देयर
Yeah.
आर मेनी कॉम्बिनेशंस जो इस चीज को सपोर्ट करते हैं, बट मुझे ये लगता है कि अगर हमें भगवान ने इस धरती पे भेजा, ही सेंट अस टू लिव दोज रिलेशनशिप्स, एंजॉय द मटेरियल वर्ल्ड, देन इन चीजों को हमने अपने अंदर क्यों बनाया? फॉर मी, जो आप बात कर रहे थे कि ट्रस्ट था, पहले चीजें अलग थी और अब अलग क्यों हो रही हैं, बिकॉज हमने इतना सब कुछ सुन लिया है कि मत बताओ अपनी चीजों के बारे में, आई एम लूजिंग माई रिलेशनशिप्स ऑल्सो, विच
Yeah.
हु विल स्टैंड बाय मी ना, हु विल स्टैंड बाय मी? एंड इनफैक्ट अगर आप इंस्टाग्राम आज के टाइम में स्क्रॉल करो, द मोमेंट यू सी कि आपका नंबर ये है या आपकी राशि ये है, आप दिल के बहुत अच्छे हो, आप सुनोगे कौन कहता है मैं दिल का बहुत बुरा हूँ? बताओ, आप बुरे हो या मैं बुरी हूँ? हम हो ही नहीं सकते बुरे, हम तो द बेस्ट है, इट इज पीपल हु आर चीटिंग अस।
Yeah, that makes
देयर आर
sense.
फ्यू स्टेबल लाइंस जो सब बोल रहे हैं और सबको लग रहा है कि ये परफेक्ट है, बट एस्ट्रोलॉजी इज वे बियॉन्ड दैट। जो कि ये कहो कि आप सबका अच्छा करते हैं, आपके साथ लोग अच्छा नहीं करते, सो दिस इज ट्रू फॉर एवरीवन।
Yeah, I think this also plays like they try to say stuff which resonates with everyone just to feed
अब
fuel
अब
their.
अब अब मैं, कौन बोलेगा कि मैं तो बहुत क्लेवर हूँ दिल से, मैं सबसे ज्यादा चट चालाक हूँ? नहीं है, सब दिल के बहुत अच्छे हैं।
Hmm.
सो द मोमेंट यू स्टार्ट योर वीडियोस लाइक दैट, यू शुड नो यू फॉलिंग प्रे टू समथिंग।
मनीषा मैम, मेरे को ना एक ये सवाल, मतलब थोड़ा सा मे बी इट्स सिली बट आई ऑलवेज वांटेड टू आस्क दिस टू एन एस्ट्रोलॉजर, इज कि since you know so much about this whole craft, do you ever think like how do you distinct between your personal life and because this is your professional life is also a big part of it, कि आप अपनी पर्सनल लाइफ के डिसीजंस के साथ कैसे मैनेज करते हो? कि डू यू थिंक बिफोर एवरी डिसीजन एंड डू यू नो ऑलरेडी व्हाट इज गुड फॉर यू एट ऑल टाइम्स, और आर यू कॉन्स्टेंटली थिंकिंग? क्योंकि मेरे को ऐसा लगता है मेरी नेचर इस टाइप की है, इफ आई हैड दिस मच नॉलेज तो आई वुड गो क्रेजी, क्योंकि मैं सोचता हूँ कि यार ये वाली चीज करूंगा तो ऐसे होगा, वो करूंगा तो ऐसे होगा, तो मैं कुछ कर ही नहीं पाऊंगा.
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है। आई थिंक सी मेजरली लाइक आई सेड, फॉर मी ऑल्सो, अपने लिए भी और अपनी फैमिली के लिए भी, आई डू एन एनुअल रीडिंग ओनली जब जिसका बर्थडे
ओके.
आता है उसके 10-15 दिन पहले, बिकॉज एस्ट्रोलॉजिकली कुछ चीजों की आपकी लाइफ में बनानी होती है। फॉर वन पर्टिकुलर ईयर, लाइक वी मे रिकमेंड दैट यू शुड नॉट बाय इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स। आप इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स खरीदोगे तो प्रॉब्लम आएगी। यू शुड नॉट बाय लेदर, फुटवेयर, मीठा आप दान नहीं करो, चंद्रमा की चीजें दान नहीं करो, बिकॉज ये सब चीजें हमारी लाइफ में उथल पुथल कर सकती हैं। So that annual reading is more than enough for your family also. बाकी तो we live with it ना, डेली हम एक दूसरे के साथ ग्रो करेंगे। बट हाँ, taking about the major decisions like buying a property, buying a vehicle, उन चीजों के लिए तो आप पर्सनली तो डेफिनेटली, जब अपना काम है ये चीज, तो आप अपने लिए तो बेस्ट सोच के करोगे ही ना। सो फॉर
Yeah.
वेदर इट्स योर ओन फैमिली और योर एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली, सो वी डू गिव सजेशंस एंड एडवाइस ऑल्सो कि नहीं, बाकी जिसको जो करना है वो करे, अपनी फैमिली तो सुने बिना, उनके पास तो दे डोंट हैव अ चॉइस। वंस यू से कि ये लेनी है, अच्छी है तो लेनी है, नहीं लेनी तो नहीं लेनी, भले फ्री में दे दे। सो
Yeah.
दैट, बट ऐसा नहीं है। आई थिंक um, I would say that I am blessed with a wonderful team at work also.
Yeah.
Because of them, that who made my life really easy at the work front. फैमिली तो अच्छी है ही, तो लाइफ भी पर्सनली मस्त है। बाकी इंसान को खुद मस्त रहना चाहिए। प्रॉब्लम्स तो तभी जो है वो प्रॉब्लम्स को भी मजा है कि मैं इसको परेशान करूँ तो करूँ कैसे, ये तो वैसे ही बहुत खुश रहते हैं।
डोंट टेक लाइफ सो सीरियसली।
हाँ, इट शुड नॉट। मुझे तो, मैं तो आई लाफ, आई डोंट नो, घर वाले बोलते हैं कि ऐसी बातें नहीं बोलनी चाहिए, बट मैं तो आई लाफ विद पीपल कि द मोमेंट आई लीव अर्थ, मेरी तो जो फोटो लगेगी ना वो भी ही वाली लगेगी कि दिस पर्सन वाज नेवर सीरियस इन लाइफ।
आई थिंक आपने फिर द मोस्ट सीरियस पॉडकास्ट पे आके गलती करी।
सी, दैट्स हाउ द
नहीं,
एनर्जी इज। मुझे तो नाम सुन के लगा था कि यार मैं होंगी कैसे सीरियस। आई वाज टेलिंग माय टीम कि यू नो मी, दे सेड नो नो नो, इफ we've gotten invites, I'm sure they would have seen you only.
no, no. So I think that's just funny. I started this podcast. मेरा तो इसके पीछे story is कि, and you know many people have asked me why is it called the most serious podcast? We won't be serious and all. So मैं actually जब ये podcast start कर रहा था ना, तो मेरा था कि यार I was searching names, जैसे मैं cool नाम इंटरनेट पे सर्च कर रहा था, most of the cool names were taken. Some people have
Okay.
started their podcast with the cool name. तो I was like कि ये बहुत ही unserious चीज है मेरी लाइफ में, शायद मैं इसको एक दो एपिसोड के बाद करूंगा भी नहीं। तो मैं इसका नाम द मोस्ट सीरियस पॉडकास्ट रख देते हैं ऐसी, क्योंकि आई वाज जस्ट मेकिंग फन आउट ऑफ माई सेल्फ कि चलो ठीक है, अब
So that's
नाउ इट हैज।
clickbait. वो अपार धन वर्षा वाला काम हो चुका है।
या एग्जैक्टली। तो मैंने तो इसको ऐसे ही रैंडमली नाम रख दिया था। नाउ आई हैव टू एक्सप्लेन दिस कि नहीं नहीं यार, इट्स नॉट सीरियस। मैं तो ऐसे ही मजाक मजाक में मैंने स्टार्ट कर लिया था, बट नाउ इट हैज बिकम सच एन इम्पोर्टेंट
I'm
पार्ट ऑफ माई
sure
लाइफ।
it will go well because of course मेरा काम है, I can read energies and you are a person who is very lively. मरकरी तो मैंने देख ही लिया है, बाकी और बात करोगे तो धीरे धीरे बाकी प्लैनेट्स भी, फिर देन अगेन ड्रॉ योर कुंडली एंड आई कैन सेंड यू।
आई थिंक वो तो डेफिनेटली मैम, वो तो करना ही है अब एक बार। अब तो ऑफलाइन आई वेन एवर आई गेट सम टाइम टू कैच अप विद यू, आई विल सिट एंड ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड माई लाइफ रीडिंग, व्हाट ऑल
यू
कैन आई डू
मस्ट।
एंड बट मैं आपको एक, बिफोर वी लेट यू गो, एंड ऑनेस्टली आई डेंट रियलाइज दैट वी ऑलमोस्ट टॉक फॉर एन आवर, बट बिफोर आई लेट यू गो आई जस्ट वांट टू आस्क यू दिस। क्या कुछ ऐसी चीजें हैं, you know of course blanket statements don't apply to everyone, बट आपको भी लगता होगा कि बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम्स मे बी इन योर कंसल्टेशंस आर यू हैव टू रिपीट अ लॉट ऑफ द स्टफ टू many people because of general things that if you were to wave a magic wand and tell this कि यार ये फॉलो कर लो, तो ठीक है, जो तुम्हारी कंट्रोल में नहीं है उसकी बात अलग है, बट जनरली लाइफ सॉर्टेड रहेगी। ऐसा कुछ है? और ऐसा ब्लैंकेट सेट में बिल्कुल भी नहीं है, मे बी समथिंग नॉट इवन फ्रॉम अ स्पिरिचुअल पर्सपेक्टिव बट फ्रॉम योर जनरल एक्सपीरियंस बिकॉज यू टॉक टू सो मेनी पीपल।
देखो मेरी ना एक प्रॉब्लम है एज अ पर्सन, आई कम टू द पॉइंट वेरी सुन। So
Yeah.
imagine if somebody's booked a 30 minutes call और say वो मैच मेकिंग की थी और मैंने बोल दिया कि नो दिस मैच इज नॉट रिकमेंडेड, तो बाकी 29 मिनट इंसान क्या ही बात करेगा। You have every right to ask me why. Fine, I'll explain you.
Yeah.
But बहुत बार क्या होता है कि people come to you with so much hope. So my job is not easy. It's not कि मुझे जो कहना है वो मैंने कह दिया and the session is over. Like I said, whenever the person is leaving my room or probably I disconnect the call, the person has to go back with some energy. ऐसे ना हो कि मैंने उसकी हिम्मत ही तबाह कर दी हो कि इसके बाद तो लाइफ में अब कुछ है ही नहीं। So, that, so as an astrologer, you have to be a good counselor also. And that has definitely come to me through my father. Because when I started sitting and I said कि आप क्या बात करते हो आधा घंटा, कि किसी से मतलब आप क्या ही बात करोगे, मैंने तो आपको 5 मिनट में बता दिया कि दिस मैच इज नॉट रिकमेंडेड, कि यू शुड नॉट गेट मैच। क्यों? अच्छा ये प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है, ये प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है। सो ही सेड वेयर इज द लाइट दैट यू आर शोइंग दैट पर्सन, उसकी तो लाइफ ही खत्म, वो तो 7 साल से जो है इस रिलेशनशिप में था और आपने उसको बोल दिया मत कर शादी, लाइफ
Hmm.
बर्बाद हो जाएगी। So we have to astrologically and as a person also you have to explain that these could be the repercussions। ये चीजें प्रॉब्लम हो सकती हैं जिसकी टेंडेंसी बहुत ज्यादा है। या तो आप इस समय के लिए वेट करो और देखो कि आपकी लाइफ में यहाँ से ये प्रॉब्लम शुरू हो गई है। लास्ट 3 years have been like that. So give yourself some more time rather than jumping on this decision because once you are into it, life will not be easy post that. तो वो चीजें, और प्लस इंसान को ना ये भी दिखाना कि आगे पॉसिबिलिटी है, दिस इज नॉट द एंड ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, यू आर लाइकली टू गेट अ गुड पर्सन इन योर लाइफ, या फिर मैरिटल लाइफ में कॉम्प्रोमाइज जो है वो रहेगा ही रहेगा। दैट एक्सप्लेनेशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। और लोगों के लिए लोग सच में देयर आर पीपल जब तक उनको जो सुनना था उन्होंने आपसे नहीं सुना, दे विल कीप ऑन आस्किंग द सेम क्वेश्चन, रीफ्रेजिंग इट अगेन एंड अगेन. दैट हैपेंस, बट देन ओवर इयर्स ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस यू लर्नड इट कि अभी ये इंसान परेशान है. ही विल टेक टाइम टू एक्चुअली गेट इनटू व्हाट यू आर सेइंग. तो इट्स नॉट कि मुझे उसको अपनी आंसर के लिए कन्विंस कराना है, उसको अपनी लाइफ के लिए कन्विंस होना बहुत जरूरी है कि यू नो वट एवर डिसीजन आई एम टेकिंग विल हैव not just me, but it will have an influence over all others who are surrounded by me.
Ma'am, I think the only bit of this conversation which I really admire your one skill, which is this distinction that you have between your personal I don't know beliefs or the way you communicate how you experienced your craft and the way you express is very good. It's very admirable. I think from a communication perspective, I really like that. I want to ask this that for a person like me, and I'm sure there are many people like me, जिनको लगता है कि यार sometimes you know हम लोग बोलना कुछ चाहते हैं and this is just me asking from a communicator perspective. आप इतने पेशेंटली वो चीज कैसे कम्युनिकेट कर पाते हो वर्सेस सो मेनी पीपल जो एक बार ऐसे सोचेंगे कि यार आई एम श्योर दिस हैपेंस विद एवरीवन कि देयर आर सो मेनी मीम्स ऑन इट कि यार you realize 2 years later कि अच्छा that girl was flirting with me उस दिन and you possibly or you say something and then you realize I said such a stupid thing like in the morning and I could have thought of something better. But with you I feel that you are very clear on what you think and then how you express it. How does one get to that level?
See, like मेरा तो हर चीज पे स्पिरिचुअल बैकिंग डेफिनेटली रहेगा. द मोर क्लियरर यू आर फॉर योरसेल्फ, आपकी कॉन्वर्सेशन में, आपके थॉट प्रोसेस में वो क्लैरिटी जो है वो हमेशा आ जाती है. सो
Hmm.
एंड ऑफलेट आई लाफ ऑल्सो विद माई फ्रेंड्स कि मुझे जो कहना है ना वो मैंने कह देना. एंड कि अगर मैं अपने मन में रख के किसी चीज को मैं परेशान न हूँ, इवन प्रोफेशनली कि मुझे लगता है कि नहीं सामने वाला ये चीज नहीं सह सकता, तो आई हैव टू बी स्ट्रांग इनफ टू पुट इट अक्रॉस इन अ वे कि ना तो उसको पिंचो, ना फिर मैं अपने प्रोफेशन के साथ मैं सिंसेरिटी ना खो कि मैंने उसे ये चीज नहीं बताई जबकि मुझे बता देनी चाहिए थी. But
Hmm.
that definitely comes with time. For me, 14 years back, I was not like this. 15 years back, if you would have spoken to my father sat with me and said, "बोलते यार इसकी कुंडली में कितने दर्द हैं?" And he said, अगर तुमने वो दर्द imagine, so he explained it to me like that. Imagine एक सर्जरी हो रही है which is a very complicated surgery और सर्जन रोने बैठ जाए कि यार इसका तो ये बॉडी ऑर्गन ही खराब है. Do you think he will be able to perform that surgery?
No.
He has just given emotionally into it. So my father
Yeah.
said, "Ki, first you have to be strong enough to handle such a live case. Only then jump onto it to help someone." So it's not that I don't see happy faces. कोई खुश नहीं आता मेरे पास.
Hmm.
But I make sure when they're leaving the room, they're happy. People are only coming with bigger problems in their life. और मुझे ये लगता था if the people who think कि astrologers के पास सिर्फ जॉब या लव मैरिज ऐसे क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, मेरे पास तो एटलीस्ट नहीं आते. वो सिर्फ छोटे छोटे लगता होगा कि कभी मुझे लगता है वो इट वाज अ वेरी सिंपल कॉन्वर्सेशन टू हैव. पीपल ट्रस्ट मी हैव बिगर बिगर प्रॉब्लम्स इन देयर लाइफ. और सुन के भी कई बार लगता है कि सच में भगवान ने हमें बहुत अच्छी जिंदगी से नवाजा है. वी शुड बी थैंकफुल फॉर द लाइफ दैट ही हैज गिवन अस.
Yeah. Personally, I think I truly agree with what you said. मैंने तो मतलब I don't know, I still have a long way to go in this, but I feel कि अब my whatever expression with God or whenever I go to a temple, so that is just I just sit or whatever whenever I pray my hands, it's just gratitude. Sometimes I feel that fills me up so much, and I feel ashamed to even ask for more. I just feel that already इतना कुछ if I have, and when you look at suffering around you, and then you realize कि it's actually shameful to ask for more. Like you can try for more, you can do for more, but you first have to thank for what you've got. And I think वो तो like it fulfills me a lot. Like now that I've just given up. बचपन में मेरा होता था like पहले बहुत ज्यादा कि I remember this so clearly when I was probably 9 or 10 year old. My only wish in life was कि I will have this PlayStation, latest PSP or something like that. My mom didn't buy me, so I was very sad. I was like बड़े हो गए मैं PSP खरीदूंगा पता नहीं 40-50. एंड आई वाज लाइक खेलेगा तो एक पे ही मतलब 50 खरीदने की जरूरत नहीं है. बट नाउ आई रियलाइज कि as you're more grateful, I think then you start actually feeling more happy also with the things that you have.
मेरा एक्सपीरियंस सिर्फ ये होता है whenever I'm very going to any religious place or any spiritual place. Honestly, I've personally felt that I'm completely blank here. I have absolutely nothing to ask. Absolutely nothing. मेरे मुंह से words ही नहीं निकलते. It's just शुक्राना is what I have because मुझे लगता है कि before I ask anything, he has actually given me a lot. मैं
Yeah.
कितनी बार the people who know me personally, I say कि I really feel I never deserve whatever I have got. You know, the kind of house, the kind of vehicles, the kind of people around me. ये सब चीजें तो बहुत मैंने कहा बहुत नसीब वालों को मिलती है and I've been blessed और क्या मांगू. And I tell
Hmm.
people, like, you are sitting next to me, what else do I ask? But astrologically also, if we say, so I always mention, कि I laugh with my friends also. I said, मेरी कुंडली ऐसी है कि मेरे friends जो हैं वो बहुत influential होने थे. So, it
Oh.
is because of me who are influential. So, वो मजाक में मतलब मैं बोल देती हूँ, लेकिन ऐसे कि I've got, stronger planets like sun and moon together in the house of my friends. तो मैंने बोला आप ये सोचो कि मेरे तो दोस्त होंगे ही ऐसे कि करेंगे सबके लिए लेकिन रोएंगे मेरे पास आकर ही कि हम जिसके लिए जो मर्जी कर लें कोई लोग थैंकलेस हैं तो मैंने कहा तभी वी आर फ्रेंड्स वी हैव द सेम थिंग्स टू टॉक अबाउट.
Ma'am, lovely perspective and so much insight that I have personally understood about astrology, and I feel I was very uneducated about this subject before having this conversation. And I'm sure we can have you again for some more deeper, precise question on some segments of astrology. But this is such a good introduction for anyone who is just a consumer of Instagram clickbaity astrology versus a good intro to from an expert who's done this for so many years. So thank you so much for breaking it down so simply. So like I could
Thanks to
understand.
you. And it's a wonderful initiative, like I mentioned at the beginning, कि बहुत कम लोग हैं who want to know about us. They want to know about themselves whenever they see us. So you've actually, given me a platform to talk more about who I am, what I feel, what I believe. So that's an
Yeah.
amazing, amazing venture. God bless you with that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll catch up with you for my personal dukh
You're most
sometime later.
welcome. You're most welcome. You're
Thank you
most
so much, ma'am.
welcome. Thank you.